Welcome in to Get in the Hole. I'm your host, Stephen McAvoy. We have a tremendous show in store for you this week. We'll recap the entirety of the Ryder Cup, everything that happened over the past week, including some big-time topics. Like we're going to talk about, did the New York fans go a little bit too far with Rory McIlroy? Does the Ryder Cup need to change some of its big-time rules? Should Keegan Bradley run it back in 2027? All that and more right here on Get in the Hole.
Subscribe to Get in the Hole Pod.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Get in the Hole. Stephen McAvoy here. Another great week in the world of golf as the Europeans take out the Americans in a huge win a huge away win for the Europeans and a disastrous loss for the Americans on home soil at Bethpage Black. It really was a great week, though, when you look at what happened on Sunday. 11 of 12 matches won or halved by the American side. It's the only time in the history of the Ryder Cup that's ever happened. Maybe one of the most improbable comebacks of all time. We'll talk more about that and everything that happened throughout the week. It was a loaded week in the world of golf. Welcome in, everybody. Episode 224 of the Get in the Hole podcast, presented by our friends over at 47 Brand. Now, I wasn't at the Ryder Cup, but my friend Sean did go. He checked out the merch tent, got me some awesome stuff. I'll do a reveal of all the merch that I got next week on the show. But I got to tell you guys, first of all, the merch tent apparently was gigantic. It was the largest in the history of any tournament, any Ryder Cup, whatever it may be. And who was there in full force but 47 Brand? I got a t-shirt. The hats were phenomenal. They were being repped by everybody all over the golf course. I was getting photos left and right from friends who were there saying, yo, 47 here, 47 there. They showed out with some immaculate, incredible merchandise. Check them out at the Ryder Cup shop, rydercup.com. There should still be some things up there on sale. But even if you're just interested in some general stuff, right? You're really into football, basketball. The seasons are all starting up. Jackson Dart got a huge win for the Giants. I was watching, and 47 Brand is getting you fitted with all of the best apparel for your favorite teams. Their new Grandstand collection looks absolutely phenomenal, both for the NCAA and the NFL. The official golf sponsor of the TGL, 47 Brand is keeping you looking fresh and fitted throughout the entire fall and into the winter season. Check them out, 47brand.com, or click the link in our description and get shopping today. Free shipping on all orders if you create an account through our link in our description code, 47Brand, the best and finest apparel and headwear brand on the market for both golf and anything else in between. Of course, as a quick reminder, each week you can follow us at Get in the Hole Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for updates across the golfing world. And you can find me at Stephen McAvoy with 2 underscores there at the end on both Twitter and Instagram. Let's get right into the good stuff this week. We're going to lead off with a tremendous segment. Love this segment. We're going to do some mail call presented by our friends over at MacGregor Golf. Now, I'm not saying this as a homer. I'm not saying this as someone who's upset with what happened with the American Ryder Cup team and all the choices that were made. But even though the Americans failed to hold off the Europeans at home, I do still think that there's a moral victories to have been had by the Americans. And while we go through these questions on mail call, questions that you've sent in to me, whether it be friends, folks on social media, colleagues, I do want to preface this. I think that a 15-13 loss for the Americans when being down 12-5 going into Sunday is a miraculous moral victory. And I think it showed a lot of different things for this American team. Before we get to that, I want to shout out our friends at MacGregor Golf, the best in 2024 direct-to-consumer brand, according to My Golf Spy, Editor's Choice in 2024. They said, quote, a proven performer that offers a unique value prop for golfers of all ages, styles, and so on. Whether you're getting into the game, you're getting your junior into the game, whether you're on the older side and are looking to pick up a new set of clubs, their new Milled series look absolutely stunning. Their wizardly hybrids and driving irons that they're offering. They're the Wizard Hybrid Iron Set going right now for only $400. You can get everything from a 4-wood to a P wedge in those senior style clubs. Anything from from regular DTC clubs, heads only, shafts, sets for both right-handed, left-handed, and lady sets, and all the accessories you can think of, cart bags, umbrellas, ball markers, head covers. They have it all at MacGregorGolf.com. Go check them out, link in our description, and get started today, whether you're just getting into the game, trying to refine the game, or trying to get your hands on some brand new, fresh clubs. They have you covered at MacGregorGolf.com. We lead off with our mail call. Shout out to all of those folks who sent in questions this week. And the first question we have here, is Keegan Bradley the fall guy, or should blame be placed elsewhere? Now, I think this is a loaded question, and it takes a lot of different ways to analyze this. Dan Rappaport said it really well. This was on Friday. After even the first session when the Americans went down 3-1. And it only persisted later on into Saturday when the Americans just kept on falling into deeper and deeper holes. He said that players win and lose the Ryder Cup. It isn't the captain. So I don't think it's fair to place blame on Keegan Bradley whatsoever. I think he stuck to his plan. He believed in his plan. He knew his guys going in. We had an idea during the practice rounds of who was going to get paired up with who. We knew JT was going to play with Cameron Young. We knew Cam was going to go play with Bryson DeChambeau. We've seen the Scotty and Bryson duo in the past. So all these different things we saw coming. What we didn't see, of course, was the Morikawa and English pairing. That's a whole different story that I think, yes, we could blame Keegan on. It was, according to Data Golf, very well-respected website. They were the worst combination in the field. And the fact that they had Harris English teeing off on the odd number holes made them even worse off. I believe there are two of the bottom four optimal pairings, according to Data Golf, with Harris English teeing off first, would have been the last one. So, yeah, that was not good. But if you look at the people who Keegan trotted out there, Patrick Cantlay's got a great record at the Ryder Cup. Scotty Scheffler is the number one player in the world. Bryson DeChambeau is a locker room guy who, despite being on LIV, has been one of the best golfers in golf for the last 2 years. Scotty went 0-4 in team play. He has not won a team event in the 2 Ryder Cups that he's played in. Like, that's absurd to think about. Bryson went 1-3 in team events. Cantlay went 1-2-1. You cannot win these events when your top 3 players or the guys that are going all 5 sessions are not winning you team events. On the other side, Fleetwood, Rory, Rahm, and Hatton, the 4 guys who played the most, they're responsible for 9.5 of the team's 12 points, between the team's 15 points. That's staggering. That's insane. Tommy Fleetwood, top 3 golfer in the world right now. John Rahm, despite being on LIV, and even Tyrrell Hatton for that matter, are 2 very strong golfers, and they are dedicated players on the European side. Rory, of course, we already know what was against him, and honestly, we can talk about this in a bit. The hatred towards Rory McAvoy, like, guys, why are we trying to degrade this man? Multiple occasions, turned around, told fans to shut the fuck up, and then pinned it to 3 feet. He was phenomenal. He took all of the anger from the crowd and he put it into his game. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But the fact of the matter is that the Americans did not play to the standard that they were supposed to play at. Russell Henley was not very good on the first day. Harris English, Colin Morikawa, they struggled. They played fine in singles. I mean, English didn't play at all due to the envelope rule. But it was very apparent to me that the Americans are great as individuals and not good as a team, where the exact opposite is the case for the Europeans. And we'll get to that point later on. But it was very clear to me that if you look at the 4-ball and the foursomes matches, the 2 of the best USA's best 3 matches were all paired together. That was JT and Cam Young in the Friday 4-ball. They had 2 of the best strokes gained displays out of any of the team events. Russell Henley and Shane Lowry's singles match was the highest quality match of the week, which goes to show you, too, that these guys are better in individual play than they are in team formats. And, of course, the score in general shows you that, right? 11 of 12 matches halved or won. Like, that's ridiculous. What stood out to me, and, again, this goes to the players lose Ryder Cups, not Keegan Bradley. Europe gained 8.5 strokes on the green, almost 8.5 strokes. The USA was essentially leading in tee to green the whole way. But due to the putting stat, Europe gained more strokes overall. The USA held 3 of 5 key stats. That's putting, approach play around the green, tee to green, in 3 of the 5 sessions, in the Friday 4-ball, the Saturday 4-ball, and the Sunday singles. So that shows to me that foursomes is not the strong suit for the Americans. And honestly, it's the harder of the 2 formats, right? Alt shot is always going to be harder. You might be teeing off on the first hole. You might not putt for the other guy might not putt for 5 straight holes if you're playing in quick succession. So it's very challenging. And the only thing that I can really discredit Keegan on was the course setup. Bethpage Black played so easy. This golf course, you could have hit it anywhere, and you were able to find the green on your second shot. He widened out the fairways by about 10 yards. That was certainly not good enough. The water wasn't kept well enough overall. We saw the shots from John Rahm, and Johnson Wagner was out there after the first round and talking about the fescue. Super cut down, super not very thick rough. They wanted to make it playable, but they almost made it too playable. The greens were not fast. They were not firm. They played very, very, very soft the entirety of the week, even with the lack of rain that actually came in. The only rain that showed up was Thursday, and they just did not. They overwatered it overall. The fescue was so wispy. The ball was able to fly right out of it. There was no difficulty in the overall breakout of the course that wasn't the generic setup of the golf course. And this is the place that typically plays harder and longer because of the narrow fairways, because of the well-guarded bunkers. It just didn't play the right way. In the past, at the PGA Championship in 19 and the US Open in 09 and 02, you had to find the fairway. You had to have surgical second shots, a placement kind of game for a Tillinghast golf course. And with the way that Keegan had them set it up, it was just way too easy. So that's really the only thing I can blame Keegan Bradley on overall. But I think it's unfair to place all of the blame on Keegan Bradley. He does not deserve any of that. Second question here. Well, the New York fans just being New Yorkers. First of all, I think this question is worded insanely. No, the New Yorkers were not just being New Yorkers. Now, we're a Philadelphia-based podcast. I'm a New York-based guy. I can tell you right now, the Philadelphians and New Yorkers are very, very, very rough individuals. They are people who expect greatness, and when they don't get it, they will boo their own team. And I think in certain regards, it is okay to be hard on the other team, and it's hard to be on your own team. But particularly in regards to what happened with Rory McIlroy, the words being thrown and the insults, the comments about Amanda Balionis and his wife and all these different things, personal attacks are they're not called for. And I think what the New York fans did was absolutely wrong. And it clearly showed some strain. You saw Rory leaving a Saturday match in the afternoon, going to tend to his wife, aside from the fact that the beer was thrown at her. First of all, the drink wasn't thrown at her. It was slapped out of someone else's hands and managed to find their way to Rory's wife. So that's a whole overblown thing. You could see the videos on social. But coming to the support of his wife, like you could see just mentally drained. He was interviewed after a Saturday match. He was like, I'm so satisfied that we managed to win this match. Thank God. This was the worst 4 hours of my life. Like, it was awful. And I shame on the American fans, but I think this is more than just the New Yorkers, right? I think that there is a divide between American fans and European fans. It's very clear that, first of all, the Europeans, while honestly probably worse at times, at least domestically, I've been to a few European football matches. They are ruthless and horrible at times, but they're passionate too. And like, the chants are really creative. They have a lot of fun. There's a lot of camaraderie when it comes to fan groups. While, yeah, there is some hatred and there's some horrible things thrown, I never heard any horrible comments about personal attacks on people. They were always poking fun at guys, but it was never that bad. The Americans are just uncreative and unthoughtful, and everything is a fuck you this, fuck you that, and then personal attacks. No, that's just wrong. That's the wrong way to approach it. The European fans that were in the front row on the first tee box in the 18 green were phenomenal the entirety of the week. They had chants for every single player, every single captain, every single person that was out there, even staffers. They were making comments and jokes about Ken Griffey Jr., who was a photographer for the damn thing. So I think this shows a lot of things. And I think it shows that Americans are just unoriginal and crass, and it was a very poor showing on the part of the Americans. This is not what American sport fans should be viewed as. And I think also with that comes the fact that this goes deeper than just the New York fans. This is a fact of the matter that 9 months ago, when tickets went on sale and we were like, hey, $750 for a ticket is pretty damn steep. They phased out the actual golf sickos who understand etiquette and appreciate the game of golf. This was just rich people who were going to go drop $1,000 in the merch tent and weren't actually going to give a shit about the actual golf itself. And all they were able to do was get personal with players instead of actually appreciating it and understanding the game of golf. We see rowdiness at golfing events nowadays, but like no one's going to the Truist Championship unless you are a local who wants to actually go and enjoy golf. Right? It's very similar to like the U.S. Open of tennis. It's become almost a status symbol here in the New York metro area. People who don't understand tennis will go and they're there for the honey deuce and the Instagram post and to wear nice clothing. If you don't understand the game, don't go to it. If you can afford it, cool, great. Go spend your $1 million in the merch tent. But like actually try and get into the game of golf. Most people didn't leave the left side of the property. 15 through 18 and then 1. No one left it. There were holes on the 13th and 12th and 10th that to a degree were almost barren at times. And the crowd was stuffy at that on Friday and early Saturday. So I think that is really the issue here as well. They phased out, the PGA of America phased out the people who really should have been there and actually cared about the golf. And I think that's my biggest gripe with the whole situation. But at the end of the day, the New York fans simply went way too far. Were the outfits as bad as advertised? The European ones were amazing, except for that they're like collars. They look like overcooked pieces of bacon. I didn't like that. I don't know who was outfitting the European side, but I love the colors. I love the styling. It seemed like more like peak polos, which didn't necessarily fit the weather style, but they looked really good. The colors were really great. It was very classy overall from the Europeans. The Americans were not as bad as I thought they were. However, I still do think the practice uniforms were far better. And I realized that the Jerry collar uniforms were actually pretty nice. The zip-up ones, not a move for me. The Jerry collar blue with the big flag didn't look as bad on television and matched well with the white pants. It looked pretty good. I didn't like on Friday the gray hat with the red and blue polos. Wasn't really a good look to me. They should have gone with a white hat or a navy. But I think the American uniforms weren't as bad as people made them out to be, even though they looked horrible when they had first announced them. Next question here. Aside from poor play from the USA, what was the biggest takeaway from the weekend? There were a lot of things that I think kind of stand out. But the one thing that ultimately shows, aside from the fact that I think Americans are better in singles, they're better individually, they weren't good in the team play. And really, they aren't always good in the team play. When they are, it's because the Europeans don't putt well. At the end of the day, the Europeans were incredible on the greens. They putted tremendously. They were able to get everything done inside of 100 yards, which really was the bulk of the overall event. But I think the big story here is that, and I got roasted on social media for this, the comments that I got over a rage bait kind of tweet with Justin Rose and Tommy Fleetwood almost like coming nose to nose, despite the fact that Americans were calling it gay and other slurs that I should not utter on this show. The fact of the matter is the Europeans play as a team. They love each other. They love this event. They do the Ryder Cup. They play the Ryder Cup for legacy and pride and country. The Americans don't do that. That's simple as that. This has nothing to do with the stipend. I think the stipend, most of it, if not all of it, goes to charity. And don't tell me that Sergio Garcia, if offered an extra $200,000, wasn't going to fucking trample children in order to get it, because he would. I think the same would go for Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood and Graham McDowell and everybody else who's played in the past. I think the moral high ground here about not getting paid, I think, is all bullshit. And I said it last week. But at the end of the day, the European players hugged, they embraced, they felt the real like love and passion for this team, this country, and the desire to win the Ryder Cup. And it didn't seem that way for the Americans. They seemed sort of flat. They didn't have inspiring overall like love for what they were doing. in the team format, they weren't holding each other down. They weren't really helping each other out. It didn't seem very team oriented, whereas the Europeans it did. But also, what's interesting too is that it shows that in singles, the Americans played so well as individuals. It reminds me a lot of the Miracle quote from Herb Brooks. He's like, when he was creating his team, he said to his assistant coach, "Why aren't these guys on the team?" He said, "Because all-star teams do not win. All-star teams rely on the talent of individuals rather than working as a team. It's why the Russians were so good back in the 70s." I think that's a really good point. I think the Europeans play better as a team than they do as individuals, and it shows because Americans, if you look at the regular PGA Tour calendar, dominate the PGA Tour. Tommy Fleetwood didn't win for years. Rory McIlroy had a 10-year gap where he wasn't able to get a major. Scotty Scheffler goes out and wins 18 times, but he can't win in a team match. Like, what is that all about? I think that's really what shows here is that the Americans dominate strokes gameplay when they play as individuals, but they can't do it as a team. And that's why the Ryder Cup is so good, is because it really shows how talented the European side is. And I think with that being said, you can't, something needs to change here for the Americans. You can't rely on comebacks every other year because they're going to dominate you in singles. No, you need to be able to play in a team format. And I think that's really the biggest takeaway here is something needs to change for what happens in those first 2 days. It's very clear they're good enough in singles. They need to be able to go 2-2, 2.5 to 1.5, do something in the team format in order to have a shot. Again, if you turned around 2 matches, the USA could have won the Ryder Cup. And granted, look, huge comeback. That never really happens. But that's the reality. So I think something needs to change on the team side. And I don't know how or what is going to happen. But I think the USA needs to take a deep dive and understand, hey, maybe we select players differently, or maybe we approach training differently, or however we go about getting ready for the Ryder Cup. You have to do things a little bit differently than you usually would. Looking at the Europeans, is Luke Donald a Ryder Cup GOAT? Yes. Yes, he absolutely is. I said this just earlier. Americans value singles over team. Europeans value team over individual. It's why Americans have won 25 of the last 36 major championships. In America, we look at your legacy as what you do in majors, the Tour Championship, the players, all these different events. The Europeans, think about who the Europeans have trotted out as some of their best people ever. Francesco Molinari, Alex Noren, Luke Donald. These guys don't win majors. Luke Donald never won a major. He was a 5-time PGA Tour winner. He was a 7-time DP World Tour winner. He won 2 flagship events on the European Tour, two back-to-back B&W PGAs. He was the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour Player of the Year at one point. He was a former #1 player in the world. He's been on 4 winning Ryder Cup teams as a player, 2 times winning as a captain. He never won a major, but his record representing Europe is sufficient to make him one of the best Europeans all time. Yeah, he's not Seve. Yeah, he's not John Rahm, and he's not Sergio Garcia, but he makes up for it with what he does as a representation of what Team Europe is and what the European mantra is. And that's why Luke Donald, I think, is truly a GOAT. What is the biggest rule change that needs to happen in 2027? The envelope rule or the tie? I think this is a very polarizing question, and it's one that I think is a interesting debate. Neither one of them happen relatively often. I mean, the envelope rule is little known. I can't tell you the last time it's actually happened at a Ryder Cup. And the last time we had a tie, if I had to look back, was it the Belfry a long time ago? I actually don't really know the answer to that. Let me do a quick Google to figure out. The last tie in a last tie in a Ryder Cup was, where are you? 14-14. Where's the flat tie? 89 at the Belfry. Yeah. Has not happened in a very long time. But I do think the biggest change that needs to happen, I think both are kind of ridiculous, but the envelope rule, I think, holds more weight. I don't think if Victor Hovland gets hurt, they should concede a full point to Harris English. No, I don't think that's the case. I think it's gentlemanly to have a half match. I do think the tie, though, should be replaced. And I think I have a really good format in order to do this. You have 3 players. You pick 3 guys. You do 3 single hole matches. So let's say you pick Bryson, Scotty, and Russell Henley. They go up against Fleetwood, McIlroy, and Rahm. Each one plays a single hole. If you go 2-1, you win the Ryder Cup. If you are halved or tied at the end of 3, you go to a sudden death and you have the rest of your team listed out in a number, and they go hole by hole to determine the winner. I think also will be kind of cool, like penalty kicks in soccer. You have you go to the par 3 on 17, or you go on 18, and you have 6 players all play. Whoever has the first one, or whoever scores the most or the best. Let's say you do 6 players on each side, 12 balls. You play the hole. Whoever has the best scores, whoever has the most overall of the 6, that's who champion is. I think that'd be a pretty fun format. There are other ways to go about it too, but I think that the tie, I think, is kind of stupid, and there should be some sort of an overtime or a sudden death in order to make this more interesting. I think that's really what should happen. Final question here: who should America trot out as their 2027 Ryder Cup captain at Adar Manor? There are multiple ways I think we can go about this. There are 4 actually that I think are the answer, and I've written them down here. Number 1, you're going to go to an away Ryder Cup. You've lost the last 2. I think you need to have a big win, like definitively. You got embarrassed in Rome. You should have gotten embarrassed at Bethpage, but you managed to mount a insane comeback. The last time prior to Marco Simone, you got embarrassed in France, and Jim Furyk was you lost by 7. Prior to that, you go to Glen Eagles, you lost by 5 in 14. At Celtic Manor, you had the narrowest loss in recent memory. At the K Club, you lost by 9, the largest ever, and you did it again, by the way, at Oakland Hills the year prior to that. They need a win on away soil, and again, it's very hard to win away. But I think there are 4 options that you can go with. I think A, you lean on the experience with someone like Steve Stricker, who won at Whistling Straits, for those of you who don't remember. He's been a vice captain in 3 Ryder Cups in 14, 16, and 18. He played in 08, 2010, and 2012. He understands what it takes to win, and he's seen insane upsets. He's seen the miracle at Medina. He was a vice captain for really big wins at Hazeltine and really big losses at LIVGolf National. I think he fits the mold of who you might want. And in terms of the guys who have experience, who were on the 2021 team, I mean, like Jim Furyk is done after his debacle in France. I mean, Davis Love has been a 2-time captain and lost both times. I think that's a dunzo. So I think Steve Stricker has the experience. There's Brant Snedeker, who's already been announced as the 2026 President's Cup captain. I think it'd be interesting to give him double duty and kind of use the President's Cup as a runway to say, hey, where can we go now for 2027? So after his first vice captainship this go around, where the players love him, he is on the younger side. He's with that new guard with Keegan Bradley as like the younger guys who are the vice captains now. I think he could be interesting to play double duty, but I wouldn't necessarily consider him off the bat. I think probably a really good idea would actually be to run it back with Keegan Bradley. I think that's it's not a horrible idea. Take a page out of Europe's book, even though he didn't win this go around, and Luke Donald won in 23 and they ran him back. I do think like Keegan Bradley fits well with the players. He knows his guys. And again, he's really the leader of the new guard. The PGA of America has not been afraid to go unconventional with this kind of pick. So why not go back to the well? Say, you know what? Hey, they mounted a huge comeback. If we can figure out the small things, we could probably win away. Keegan had a great quote. He was like, I have a really love-hate relationship with this place. He's lost almost every time. And he understands what crushing hurt is. Whether it be losing as a player, losing as a captain, not making the team, and then ultimately losing. I think Keegan Bradley will be a really interesting 2027 pick against whoever the Europeans roll out, who honestly might be Luke Donald the 3rd time. But this is one actually that I think is really interesting, and this is the other experience that isn't Steve Stricker's side that I'm surprised no one's talking about. And the only person I have heard talk about it, I can't believe I'm agreeing with him, is Brandel Chambly. I think Freddie Couples would be an incredible captain for this team. In his career, he's always been the bridesmaid. He's never been the bride. He's never been the captain of a Ryder Cup team. But he was the vice captain in 2012, in 2021, and 2023. Look at what happened. VC at the Miracle at Medina. He won in Whistling Straits. Got embarrassed at Marco Simone. He's played in 5 Ryder Cups. He played from 89 to 97. In order. Tied at the Belfry and lost. Back-to-back wins at Kiowa and the Belfry for the last away win for the Ryder Cup in 93. He lost at home embarrassingly at Oak Hill. And he lost again at Valderrama in Spain. He's experienced every up and every down. Ryder Cup home losses, Ryder Cup away wins, Ryder Cup moments that have been devastating. The Miracle at Medina being the primary one. That's the kind of guy who I want in my team room, who's been a part of 5 played Ryder Cups, 3 VC Ryder Cups. It's a little interesting because it's a move back to the old guard. He's 60. He's in his 60s. It's different than who was the VCs this year. This go around with Gary Woodland and Brant Snedeker and Webb Simpson and Kevin Kisner and Keegan Bradley. But I think you need experience. And I think Freddie Couples actually is the guy that I would want to lead my team going to an away Ryder Cup where you need to win. I think that would actually be a really compelling and interesting story. Folks, that's going to do it all for mail time. Shout out to our friends over at MacGregor Golf. Again, be sure to check them out. Link in our description and get started in your golf game, whether you're rediscovering the game or you are trying to get your hands on some brand new sticks. MacGregor Golf has you covered. MacGregorGolf.com. Check out the link in our description. On the other side, we're going to take a short break. We'll talk all about the FedEx Fall as we now fully shift away from the Ryder Cup and into the Fall Series. 7 weeks of some hardcore golf as we figure out who will earn and keep their PGA Tour cards for the following year. We'll also get you some beer money, and we'll break down my final putt, which I think you will really want to enjoy, and I'm pretty sure you're going to want to hear this one. We'll be right back on the other side. Get in the hole right here. Steve McAvoy.
Subscribe to Get in the Hole Pod.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by our amazing merch partners, PHI Apparel Company. With their unique designs for all, there's no doubt in our minds you will stand out in the crowd. Rep your favorite golf podcast and get your official Get in the Hole shirts and hoodies at phiapparel.co. When you check out, use code UNDERGROUND to get 10% off your entire order. Again, that's code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your next merch order at phiapparel.co. Stand out in the crowd, on the course, at the 19th hole, or quite frankly anywhere with the official merch partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. This episode of Get in the Hole is brought to you by Acorn Hills, your go-to golf company that's changing clothing through conservation. With a unique value proposition that blends style with eco-friendly packaging and plantable clothing tags, you get to look good and support our environment. Check out their latest drops from quarter zips to polos, hats, hoodies, and beyond, as well as their Founders Club, a quarterly mystery box curated with seasonal apparel and premium accessories that you won't find anywhere else. Head to acornhillsco.com and use code GITH15. That's Get in the Hole 15 to get 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com. Again, that's Get in the Hole 15 to get 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com. Acorn Hills, look your best from the ground up.
Subscribe to Get in the Hole Pod.
Welcome back to Get in the Hole here, Stephen McAvoy. We've already broken down the Ryder Cup. Let's get right in to what's happening now as we look forward on the PGA Tour calendar towards 2026. We got to talk about the FedEx Fall Series with our segment, The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. I'm going to give you all the names who I find really interesting, who are currently on tap to possibly lose their tour card, or very well could be very safe for their tour card as we enter the FedEx Fall. I'll give you all the names that I am interested in looking at. We start off with the good. Despite being outside the top 60 for all these guys, also, I should reiterate this. The current format now for the FedEx Fall, following last year's policy changes, the way this is going to go now for the remainder of our lifetime until they change it again, the top 51 through 60 players qualify for Pebble Beach and the Genesis Invitational through the Aon Next 10. Players 61 through 100 officially earn their tour cards, and now players 101 to 125 earn conditional status. This is different from last year, where it was the top 125 earn their tour cards, and the top 150 had conditional status from 126 to 150. So we start off with the good. All these guys being outside of the top 50 right now. They all have their tour card through win exemptions or other avenues, despite their ranking currently. That includes Jordan Spieth, that's currently 54th. Wyndham Clark, 56th. Minwoo Lee, 57. Tony Finau, 66. Adam Scott, 90. Tom Kim, 94. Billy Horschel, 102. Max Homa, 111. Nick Dunlap, 138. Will Zalatoris, 140. He's on with a medical exemption. And Sahith Theegala, who's 145th. So all these guys are safe. They'll be on tour next year, despite having some pretty rough and tumble seasons, particularly the guys outside of 100. Tom Kim trying to rediscover his game. Max Homa had an atrocious year. Nick Dunlap had a very challenging sophomore season on the PGA Tour. Of course, Zalatoris battling injury, and Theegala, another guy, 2-year exemption after winning the Pro Tour, but just had a really rough season overall. But all those guys are good. They, despite where they all are locked into the tour next year. We get to the bad here. These are the interesting players who are on the bubble right now to either maintain their card or lose it outright. And we start off with the guys in the 80s. I'm really interested in seeing what Rasmus Højgaard and Michael Thorbjornsen do. Now, both these guys fit into very different and interesting buckets, right? Højgaard was a member of the European Ryder Cup team just a week ago. He didn't give them any points, and he kind of struggled throughout the year, and he was sort of the last guy into the field. He ended up making it at the BMW PGA, finishing top 20 there to qualify over Harry Hall, who chose to go and play at the Tour Championship. That was a very interesting play because it was one of those two guys who was going to get the last automatic qualifier spot. It ended up going, of course, to Højgaard. He's currently 85th in the points. On the other side, Michael Thorbjornsen, who's 88th in the points, is the second guy since Ludwig Åberg through PGA Tour Accelerated to make the PGA Tour. A really interesting story. I think this guy could be a force on tour. Went to Stanford, very much in that same boat with a great career similar to Tiger Woods and Rozang. He was supposed to be the next big guy, but hasn't been able to really find his footing yet on tour. I think he's going to be a name to watch out for in the next coming seasons. I had him tagged as my rookie of the year last year. He unfortunately disappointed, but those two names are currently on the inside looking out. They should be able to maintain their tour cards. They're going to have some good shots in the fall series. More on the bubble, Joel Damon, 93rd right now. This guy's been battling. And it's unfortunate for Joel because obviously he's a household name. He's loved on Twitter. He's loved amongst the fans, and he's had a really good run throughout his career. But the last 6 months has been a story of you see him top of the leaderboard after 36 holes, and bad putting and bad play around the greens has legitimately seen leads just evaporate. He has only 2 top 20s in his last 10 starts. He missed the cut in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight events after a top 2, a runner-up finish at the Punta Cana Championship. Just had a really tough middle of the year, tough summer, April, May, June. He has 6 top 20s in 2025, but a lot of red. If you look at his data golf profile, nothing's really worked for him. The putter's been tough. His distances have not been really good. He hasn't been great around the green. The only thing that's really saved him has been his accuracy off the tee. I'm hoping for good things out of Joel Damon. I want him to keep his card. He deserves to keep his card. He's a grinder. He split earlier this year with Gino Bonali, his longtime caddy. So we'll see what's happening with Joel. Hopefully he's able to keep his tour card. Who's our man at number 100? None other than Taylor Moore, 4 top 20s in 2025 in 21 starts. This is his last chance to get things going after maintaining his exemption with a 2023 win at the Valspar, which has not been a strong go of things. Everyone on the outside looking in are actually really interesting. This one, the final name here for the bad, Alex Noren, who despite having 2 wins in his last 3 events, including the British Masters and the BMW PGA, sits at 105th. Not for any particular reason. He actually has had a really good run over his last 25 starts. He has 12 top 25s in his last 25 events dating back to May of 2024. A lot of this is just due to him splitting his calendar between the European Tour and the American side. He only played 8 events, not including majors, on the PGA Tour calendar. But again, 4 top 10s in his last 5 starts, including wins at the British Masters and the BMW PGA. He should be more than capable of maintaining his PGA Tour card if he has a couple of really strong weeks. And honestly, it should be an easy route for a player as good as Alex Noren, who's also coming off of a vice captainship at the Ryder Cup. So good on him. The ugly. These are the names that are in real doubt of losing their tour card. We start off with Harry Higgs, who's currently 112th in the points. He earned his card through the Corn Ferry Tour. He had back-to-back wins back in 2024. He got a year exemption, was not able to perform on it, so he's currently 112th. He needs to have a good run. Longtime player Matt Kuchar, second straight year battling for his card. He finished 109th last year. You can't get lucky like that again, unfortunately, with the list dwindling down to the top 100. So Kuchar at 127th. All the way back at 139, Adam Hadwin, a beloved Canadian player who unfortunately has just not been able to get things going. Currently 139th in the points, a long road ahead. He had one individual top 25 this year, and that was a T9 all the way back in February at the Waste Management. Need a big 7 weeks from Adam Hadwin in order to keep his card. He's in real risk. So other names behind him, Ben Coles, Taylor Montgomery, Luke List, Adam Svensson, Camilo Villegas, all at 144th or worse. They all need to have really good weeks going into the FedEx Fall in order to maintain their position in the standings and hopefully retain their tour card. I'll get to some beer money presented by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, the Sanderson Farm Championship this week, and we are getting ramped up with our friends over with some Kenwood Beer. I was knocking them back watching the Ryder Cup from my couch all day Friday, all day Saturday. Only 120 calories. I was just filling up on a liquid lunch, on a liquid dinner, and I've got to tell you, it was the best time of my life. Just getting to enjoy some ice cold Kennies on the couch. Head to kenwoodbeer.com. Use the Kenny Tracker to find where you can get your hands on some ice cold, refreshing Kenwood beer from your favorite liquor stores in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, and at the Wells Fargo Center and the Mann Center. All fall long, must be 21 years or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly. If you are gambling with us, please gamble responsibly as well in a state that allows sports betting. If you go to the top 20 pick of the Sanderson Farm Championship, if you want a full breakdown of the golf course, we've had videos in the past breaking down the Country Club of Jackson. Not a long golf course, should be very gettable. You don't need brute strength in order to get to where you got to be. So a lot of these picks are going to be very focused around two things. One, if you can hit the ball really well, it's going to be proximity to the hole and your approach play. And otherwise, it's going to be your putter. This is going to be a putting contest like it usually is. So with that being said, we go to a top 20, and I'm going to go with the Canadian Mackenzie Hughes. I think this golf course doesn't require any sort of crazy strength. I mean, like Cameron Champ has played well here in the past. Sam Burns won at this golf course previously. Those guys hit it far, but I don't think you need anything crazy in order to do it. He has such surgical hands around the green, both from around and scrambling and then on the green itself. I think to get him a plus money, a plus 150, I think is just a easy cash. So I'll take Mac Hughes at a top 20 selection. Top 10, I'm going back to the well with somebody who's played really well in the fall and has played well in a lot of those alternate field events where you don't usually see him top of the leaderboard at majors or anything. But the whale on his shirt stands out every single time. I'm going to go JT Poston at plus 275 for a top 10. He's an incredibly accurate hitter of the golf ball. He doesn't really need to overpower this golf course at all to succeed. He's an above-average putter. His approach play will be huge. I think if we get into a putting contest, he can certainly win this event. So I like Poston at plus 275 for a top 10. You could even take him a little bit higher as well. Top 5 for me, I'm going with Michael Torbjornsson, who I had mentioned previously. Finished 13th at the Pro Tour Championship. He has 4 top 25s in his last 6 starts. The distance and approach play are going to be a plus, and it's going to mitigate a relatively shaky putter. His number should not be as high as it is right now, plus 500 for a top 5. This is an upside play more than anything else. He might not get top 5. You can take him top 10. He's going to be in that same plus 275 range. But I really do like Torbjornsson here. If he can get the putter right, and proximity to the hole is going to be key, a top 5 here for big Michael Torbjornsson is going to be huge. My gimme pick this week, again, I'm going surgical with the hands here. He's top 20 plus 200. Top 30, you probably can get this guy at even money. Very similar profile to Mac Hughes. in terms of putting and overall approach play. I'm going with Christian Bezadenhout here to have some really good success. 4 top 20s in his last 10 starts, dating back to the Charles Schwab back in May. He can certainly play well enough to get things going on this golf course. My ladder play, a top 40, 30, 20. I'm going to go with 3 very different makes and profiles in these picks, but bear with me here. I'm going to go with Sami Välimäki for a top 40. He's a great putter of the ball. He should be able to play very similar to that Mac Hughes style that we like. Someone who actually can overpower this golf course and just hit it really far and play tremendous golf in and out. I'm going to go Garrick Higo, who can strong arm it and can putt. 2 things that I think could also fit into a profiled winner. And even though the lackluster putter here for top 20, the ability to move around this golf course, have great approach play, good driving distance, great accuracy, Rico Hui for a top 20 is my pick here. Rico Hui for a top 20 is my play. He did us really well at the Wyndham Championship, so I love him at this spot. So Välimäki top 40, Higo top 30, Hui top 20 is my play. And my winner this week at the Sanderson Farm. Well, it's easy for me to go with Akshay Bhatia at 20-1. I'm going to go a little bit higher on the board. I think Akshay is really good. He fits the profile well, but the driving distance and accuracy has been really kind of everywhere. He sort of sprays the ball. So I'm a little bit concerned there. And the putter, it's streaky. So I'm going to go with someone who has a little bit more consistency. Not necessarily a better putter, but certainly more consistency overall in his game. And he can strong arm this golf course and get the proximity. Coming off a Ryder Cup, Rasmus Højgaard at 28-1. I think he's in great form as of late. He's played really well in Europe as of late. I think he has the opportunity to surprise some people, maintain his tour card, and get to where he needs to be. I love Rasmus. If you look at his last few events, first of all, his distance has been phenomenal. His putter has been actually above average, despite kind of hovering around the flat 0.0 strokes gained area. His approach play has been great. 3 top 15s in his last 4 outings at the European Masters, the British Masters, and the Danish Golf Championship. He finished runner-up. So I love Rasmus Højgaard here for the win at the Sanderson Farm. Oh, geez. Kind of ranted that one. Let's get to the last putt. And this is something that I think is the only downside to Bethpage Black from this past week. We go back to the Ryder Cup for my final putt. The headline is obvious. Why the U.S. Ryder Cup advantage is not in New York or any big city. Let's just go back in the history of the Ryder Cup, right? And let's look at where America has managed to win big. Whistling Straits, Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Hazeltine National Golf Club, Minnesota. Medina's in Chicago, where they lost. Valhalla in Kentucky, where they won. Oakland Hills in Oakland Hills is upstate New York. Or is that Oak Hill? The fact that I'm like getting this wrong is absolutely like sickening. Yeah, Oakland Hills Michigan. I'm thinking of Oak Hill in Rochester or like Buffalo area. The country club at Brookline, Oak Hill again, Kiowa down in the Carolinas, Muirfield Village in Ohio, PGA National down in Florida, the Greenbrier in West Virginia. Look at these places where they've won, and then also look at where they've lost. Medina in Chicago, Bethpage Black in New York. I think the advantage for the Americans, I mean, granted, yeah, they lost tragically in Oakland Hills, Michigan. But I think the interesting thing is that the USA has a really interesting advantage when it comes to the Ryder Cup, and it's not playing in Boston or in Los Angeles or in Atlanta or in New York. It's playing at the great golf courses in places you've never fucking heard of. You go to Sheboygan, you go play Whistling Straits, it's a historic golf course, right? Go play Chambers Bay in Oregon or Bandon in Oregon. It's hard to get to. It's like in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, Bethpage is on Long Island. You can go to JFK. You can go to LaGuardia. You can go to MacArthur. You can go to Newark. You can stay in the city. You can stay in Garden City. You can stay anywhere around this area. It's easy-ish to get to. You go to Sheboygan, and you go to Oakland Hills, Michigan, and you go to West Virginia and Oregon, and I think the advantage for America is to not play golf in big cities. I think, A, they priced out the real golf fans. So $750 for a ticket in New York, it was what, $300 at Whistling Straits? Yeah, the economy in Sheboygan is a little bit different, or in all of Wisconsin for that matter. But the fact that you can get people and dedicated golf fans to go to events there, I think the advantage for America going forward is to not host the Ryder Cup in big city hubs. Don't go to LA, don't go to DC, don't go to Philadelphia, don't go to Miami or Tampa, Orlando, Atlanta, Frisco, Austin, Houston. I think you go to some random ass places. They're going to go back to Chaska, Minnesota for Hazeltine. In 2033, they're going to go play in San Francisco. I don't think it's a great move. They're going to play Congressional in 37 in Maryland. Also, maybe not a great move. I think you should go to the deep, dark annals of the Midwest. Go to Big Sky, Montana, and go play historic golf courses. Go to Missouri and go play Big Cedar Lodge or somewhere. Go play like Paynes Valley. I think you can have a really good opportunity to isolate Europeans out of your home turf. The Europeans showed out for New York because it's easy to get to. The flights from London Heathrow to New York, or from France to New York, Italy to New York, it's so easy to get here. Go somewhere it's hard for the Europeans to travel. Go somewhere it's challenging for even for the European players to travel to. That's the real strategy here for Team USA. Go play Hazeltine more. Go play out in Oregon or in Missouri or in Omaha, Nebraska, or in Utah. Find me a crazy golf course that's not only historic and fun, but is going to be challenging for the Europeans to get to, and make it real American home field advantage. That's my last putt. And I think certainly could help a ton for an American team who needs big wins at home in order to really reinvigorate themselves and get off the schneid that they've been dealing with from the Europeans for now what's going on on 2 back-to-back Ryder Cups. I think Chaska, Minnesota is going to be a really interesting place. We'll see where both teams shake out. I don't think the European side is going to change very much. They're all very young. They're youthful. They're strong. Maybe Justin Rose is off the team, but they'll find someone else new to take over. The Americans are going to have a lot of work to do, and they might have some new faces as well. But I think when we get to Hazeltine in 2029, it'll be really interesting to see what happens from there. Folks, that's going to do it all for me here on Get in the Hole. Stephen McAvoy, again, a great week in the world of golf. The Europeans outlast the Americans despite an incredible comeback. And thank you so much for tuning into episode 224 of the Get in the Hole podcast, presented by Underground Sports Philadelphia, our friends of 47 brand MacGregor Golf, Acorn Hills, and beyond. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe on all of our socials at Get in the Hole Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Check us out at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube at Underground Sports Philadelphia for all of our awesome podcast shows, including Top Bins, Underground Circuit, OTB, Streamer Season, and beyond. And folks, that's going to do it all for us here. I'm Stephen McAvoy. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time. And remember, get in the hole!